first step in painting is to do all the gold work. It means all the scrolls and the leaves on the scroll must be done in the first step with the gold. If your paint gets dry, just add 2 or 3 drops of water and mix it. Your poster paint will get reactivated upon adding water. Use 000 or 444 size brush. Just take a lot of paint. Don't take too much paint, but take a good amount of paint. Make sure your paint will not drop a blob on your worksheet. It must not be that much. One important thing to be done is your work could get messy with your sweat, with your hand rub. So it's very important to put a blank piece of paper underneath your hands. Always. It will prevent your messiness of work. Your pattern could get ruined with your sweats. And always start painting from one point and go in sequence. Don't paint randomly, because one mistake could ruin your whole art piece. The paints could get smudged. Okay, now the key point is in painting this gold work is that you can see I'm putting a lot of paint on my sheet, and I'm running my paint. I'm not rubbing my brush. If I rub my brush, I will not get a smooth paint. Most of the students complain that they are getting lines and the strokes are visible in their work. So the mistake here is they try to rub the brush on the sheet. My paintbrush is not touching my sheet. Rather, I'm just putting paint on sheet and rubbing or running the paint. The paint is little bit liquidy, and I'm taking a much quantity of paint so that it can run smoothly. Keep remember, your paint brush must not touch your worksheet. Otherwise, it will give you strokes and your work will not be that smooth. This is how you can complete all your gold work, and in one go. Try to finish it quickly. It will not take that much time. The only time taking step is the outlining. So you can complete it for the first step. Now the second step after scroll painting is the flower painting. If your worksheet is darker in shade, the first step would be doing all the flowers in white. The white is the base color. It would pop out your shades, which you will do later. If your base is white in shade or any lighter shade, you can keep it as it is and directly start doing the painting of the shades. I'm not using paints here as it will end in the video. Rather, I'm explaining it with color pencils. The first step for doing the leaves paint is to do all the leaves in gold. In this video, this yellow color will be representing gold wherever I'm using it. Okay, so now this is as the scroll, and the leaves on the scrolls are all gold. And beside those, what you can do, you can do the leaves of the flower gold. And keep remember, the center point of all flowers must be in gold. Okay, so the gold leaves are the first option if you're not willing to add paints or shades. Now I'm using these 3 shades of pink for doing the petals. The first step is putting the lightest shade in all the flowers. Make sure your paint is dried before putting your next shade. So the first step in flower painting is lightest shade. Then the second step we'll put the middle shade, and the third step will be putting the darkest shade. Now I'm adding the middle shade. What you can do is just put a mark in the shape of your petal and then fill it. It's my middle shade. And make sure your lightest part must be enough. If you add more darker shade and less lightest shade, then your petal will not stand out, as the darker shade will overpower your lightest shade. There will not be a visibility of the gradual decrease in the shadings. Now this is the darkest shade, and it is in the least space. You can see 3 distinct shades in every petal. So this was the first option, light to dark. If you're going from outwards to inwards, the lightest shade, the middle shade, and the darkest one in the inside. The inside one is the darkest shade. Okay, so this is your first option, light, middle, and dark. Now you have another option. If your space is not that much or you want to do some different flower, so what you can do is put all the light shade as we did in the previous method. So this method you can use if you do not have enough space for adding 3 shades. So what you can do, just fill all the petals with the lightest shade and then use the darkest shade. In this technique of painting, you must not use the middle shade. There will be only 2 shades. Use your darkest shade on the boundary. In the previous ones, the darkest shade was inside of the petal, while in this technique, darkest shade is on the boundary or on the edges of your petals. Leaf shading, as we did the first option, all leaves in the cold. Now there is second option for the leaf, is the 3 shades in the leaves as we did in the petals. So I'll explain first the mistake most of the students do. First, put all the lightest shade in all the leaves, the lightest shade in all the leaves. It's not mandatory to use the green color. You can use any shade, purple, blue, yellow, red, whatever you like. You can use the 3 shades of those. So what students do is they add the second layer like this, from edge to edge, and then the darkest like this. This is the completely wrong practice for adding your shade in the leaves. Please don't do it. What you need to do is you need to add the shades in the shape of the leaf. If you do not have a space for the third shade, you can just add a single line. It will give a distinct shape of a leaf with 3 shades. So these are the 2 options for the leaves: all leaves in gold or 3 shades of the leaves. The leaves which are directly attached on top of the any flower must be in gold. It's mandatory, as it's a part of the scroll. The leaves on the scroll are all gold. You can use any shade of gold. The third option for painting flower is with base white. If your flower is too small, what you can do is just add a white color as the lightest shade or as a base shade, and then you can use any shades to just put the lines inwards or outward. For example, my sheet is white, so white will not be visible, but just for you to understand stepwise, what you need to do is put white shade in your worksheet, in your petal, and then add the shades with any color. For this kind of shading with the paints, what you can do is just drop the paint, then clean your brush with the tissue paper, and then spread it. You need to do it a little bit quick before your paint get dried. So just spread it with the dry brush. You will see the fine strokes. Now the other option you have is these strokes you can see is the inside of the petals. Now you can similarly do these strokes on the edge of the petals. Just drop the paint and clean your brush and spread it. For this, you will get fine strokes. If you have 2 brushes, you can use any other dry brush of the same size. If your leaf has a fold in it, so what you can do is put the lightest shade in whole leaf and add the darkest shade in the folds. Or you can do is put the lightest shade in the leaf and add gold in the fold. So both will be correct, or you can put the whole leaf gold. It was our first option. Now the middle petal shading. The middle petal would be in same color as that of the side petals. So lightest shade, then the middle shade. Middle shade would be in same shapes as that of the petal has curves. and just add lines. The number of lines must be same as the number of curves in your petals, the number of lobes of your petals. All you can add just two shades, the lightest and the darkest. Just put the lightest as the base color and the darkest to make lines. The shades in the yellow are not that much distinct, so what you can do for yellow, you can use the lightest shade white, the middle shade yellow, and the darkest shade orange. So these will be the three shades for your yellow. For middle shade you can use ochre color. If your petal is too small, you can just add lines instead of your lobes. If you want to paint a pinch flower, what you can do is, these small side leaves are too small, so don't put any color. Do it gold, or you can use any one single shade contrast to your main petals. So what you can do is put small lightest shade in all of the petals. Let it dry, then use the middle shade in the shape of the petal. If you are using this completely, it will be wrong. Okay, use the shades in the shape of your petals, and then the darkest one just to put the dots. Here we have completed all our painting ideas for flower, and I'm explaining here one more thing which we are going to do in our next project. It's the negative space painting. These flower shadings are used mainly in Khatai technique, which we are doing. It's our main technique, and it's termed as positive space painting. That is our main painting. There are different kinds of painting. That is the negative space painting. Negative space painting is a painting which is not our main artwork. Our main artwork is something else, and we will add some other patterns all around. That is termed as negative space painting. Negative space painting is all named as golden horn work or haliçişi. In this painting, there is no gold work, there is no outline. Rather, you are going to use a single dark shade. You can use blue, mainly blue, purple, maroon, green. And in this negative space painting, is important thing is that nothing is connected. All leaves and petals are present there. They are symmetrical, but they are not connected to each other. You can simply paint just like this by keeping a space in middle of your leaves and petals. You can simply fill it, or you can keep your space. So I'm explaining it here. I will not explain it later in our second project. So you need to remember how to paint negative space painting or haliçişi. There is no outline work in this, just a single shade, and you need to do all the paint work. And you need to remember nothing is connected. You can see petals are disconnected. This is called negative space painting or haliçişi. So here we have completed this lesson. Now you are ready to do work on your first project.